Mahia, s'il vous plaît. So the mindfulness bell is an old friend. Because it calls us into the sacred moment. Where not only our mind takes a break, but we open to this vast stillness that is our true nature. Beloved Megan walked in just a few minutes ago and we hugged in the hallway. And she said, "Oh my God, what is that thing on the wall? I've never noticed it before." And it's maybe 10 feet long and 5 feet wide, and it says, "Awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence." She said, "I never saw that before." I said, "Well, it's only been here for 25 years, but it's the vision of our teaching." "Why didn't I notice it?" I said, "I don't know." But when we stop, there's so much that we don't notice. I was there that day when we were meditating as a community. It was at least 35 years ago. And we meditated, and there's a saying in the Bible that says, "Without a vision, you will perish." And so we said, as an organization, we don't really have a vision. So we went into this long, deep meditation. There were hundreds of us there. And out of that stillness, this friend of mine stood up and she said, "We're simply here to awaken humanity to their spiritual magnificence." And it was like this pearl of great price fell right from source. And we all said, yes, it's that simple, to awaken to the truth of who we are. And so we'll start this Sunday morning where we began, with a simple vision. There is that which is within us that is always awake. You can call it the Buddha consciousness, if you will, because that's what the Buddha consciousness is. It's not a man who lived 2,000 years ago, but it's a level of consciousness, a level of awareness that is always awake. And so we come here to remember that, to rest in that. It's not an effort. It's a surrendering. For me, it's a smiling. When I smile, I can say at the deepest level of my soul, I have arrived, I am home. I am home in the smile. I am home in my heart. The Sufis say, put your head into your heart, because your heart knows oneness, whereas the head might be running around with all kinds of thoughts and concerns and worries and judgments, and you know how the mind can go. But when we put our head into our heart, well, then love leads the way. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, said, let love lead the way, and then the law will make the way possible. We live in a spiritual law in this universe. Jesus spoke about it when he said, it's done unto you as you believe. So observe your thoughts. What are you believing? If you believe that life sucks, well, don't be surprised if your life sucks. But if you believe that life is a blessing, and every moment is filled here to surprise us with grace and beauty and wonder and awe, well, don't be surprised if you have an awesome experience then. And so we participate in this thing called life. And we smile as we say that. Because one of the ways we participate is by meeting what is. Hildegard of Bingen, who lived a gazillion years ago, had one little phrase that was a gift, and I put it in my heart because it speaks to my soul. What did Hildegard of Bingen say? Oh, this too is good. This too is for God, and I demand to see the blessing. And when you know that everything is here for us, then it's my job to find where's the blessing in here. As Raoul would say, there's a pony in here somewhere. It's a metaphor again. Could we find the blessing even in those moments that we think are not a blessing? And so we stop. And we go to that beautiful phrase, I have arrived, I am home. Knowing that home isn't a geographical location. It's a place that we always are. In the musical The Wiz, they have a song called Home. And the lyrics to that song say, when I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. So could we go to that place where there's love overflowing? And smile. When you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes, to be here now. It's not a complicated thing. It's a simple little thing of just stopping and opening and looking around and seeing yourself everywhere. All these beautiful faces out there. Ed, my beloved Ed, he's like a brother to me, and last Sunday he came in with a naked lady on his shirt all around. And I said, I've never seen a shirt like that. That's the most amazing thing. Well, this Sunday he gave it to me. So I have a naked lady sitting in my office, and I was going to put it on for you. Well, she's not completely naked, but she's pretty close. And I think, what a beautiful, and Adam said, I would love that shirt. So, I think he could get away with it more easily than I. But Ed, thank you so much. You just make a comment that you like something, and the next thing you know. But the penguin's not up for grabs. That's my spirit animal, Barbara Rowland gave me this. Life will continue to surprise you if you let it. Being that I've been doing ministry for so long, I take advantage of crazy things. And one of them was to study with a shaman who came to Atlanta when I was a student there, Michael Harner. And he would do what the shamans did. He would beat the drums. And you would move around the room, and then you would lie down on the floor and the drums be beating. And we went into this alternative state, and he said, we all have a spirit animal, call forth your spirit animal. And I'm thinking, I was a dancer, it'll be a gazelle, it'll be something beautiful. And all of a sudden out waddled a penguin, and I'm thinking, holy cow, this can't be my pet. But anyway, and then so in the meditation you were supposed to ask it questions. I said, so penguin, how can we create peace on earth? The penguin showed me, well, get along with all the other penguins. And what do you do when something really bothers you? Well, the penguin slid down and was swimming in the water. He had every answer to every possible question I could ever ask. And so when you came out of this meditation, then Michael Harner said, beating the drum again, okay, now that you've had a direct experience with your spirit animal, we want you to dance your spirit animal, of all things. So I got up there and I'm waddling around the room, kicking up my leg and waddling here and kicking my leg. And you've been with me ever since, haven't you? And there's something wonderful when you can let your judgment fall away and you can open to a discovery that's always there. That to me is what the revealing services are all about. My beloved Michael here sent me a little video. It says, proof that God exists in 5 minutes. I have to watch that. And there's this man who's supposedly the smartest person on the planet. He has a 200 IQ. And he was explaining how there's this intelligence in the universe, and it's not local, it's universal. And all we have to do is open to this, and he said it's a flow that we all have, but we have to tap into it. Whoa, I think I resemble that, don't you, Miss Judy Graff? And then you realize our job is to pay attention. Our job is to tune in. And then I heard Ram Dass when I was a brand new student in 1967, University of Denver. Turn on, tune in, and drop out. Well, he was talking about LSD at the time, but you don't have to have LSD. You turn on to this infinite intelligence, you tune in to its guidance system, and then you drop out of the local self, and you're into this divine intelligence that's always available, but we have to avail ourselves of it. And it does require that we have a little screw loose. If we're so tightly wired, we can't get there. So that's why putting on the music and dancing in your living room is so powerful, because you're feeling the movement in your, when I was, and catch the hints. You know, when you've lived as long as I have, and we're doing this wonderful class, Mark Nepos, is called The Fifth Season. Now, everybody knows with common sense that we have 4 seasons. There's fall, winter, spring, and summer. But he talks about the 5th season. He's a poet. It's a metaphor. The 5th season is the final chapter of life. And when we're in the final chapter of life, he calls it the 5th season, all those other seasons build up to this realization that it's all been here for us. And, you know, we have an elderly class. I'm kind of probably one of the younger students. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, and we're all kind of in that 5th season right now. And on my Zen calendar, just the other day, there was Mr. Mark Nepo. And boy, was this like a slap, but a good kind of slap. This is for you, Ed. He said, "We are carved by life into instruments that will release our song if we can hold each other up to the carving." Oh, isn't that juicy? We are carved by life into instruments that will release our song if we can hold each other up to the carving. So something is going to carve away that which doesn't belong. That would be the me person. That would be the one that suffers. That would be the one that identifies with their limitations. And when all that's carved away, Thomas, what's left? Just this radiant presence that wants to express itself, that wants to sing its song. Sing, sing your song, sing out loud, sing out strong, sing of good things, not bad, think of happy, not sad. Where did that come from? It's one of those TV shows. La 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 la. You all can sing it. Sing, sing a song, sing out loud, sing out strong. Good enough for anyone else to hear. Just sing, sing a song. Oh God, then la 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 la. Oh, anyway, so when you let this self-conscious aspect of who I think I should be fall away, well, then there is something that is so organic and so lovely that it will naturally emerge, and that's why they call it emergent evolution. We are evolving into this true nature, which is not bound by what society says, but what we have taught ourselves to think of ourselves as being. And this month I'm doing a series on a whole new world. And what's so fun about doing a series, consciousness builds on itself. The first week I talked about it's time to wake up. There is something that is awake within us. We'll call it awake awareness. The impact of awakening. And when that awareness wakes up, well, then we're no longer burdened by me and my story and my judgments and my issues and all that stuff that can kind of weigh us down. Anybody know what I'm talking about? The stuff that can hold you bound in the me person? And when the me falls away, and there's this wonderful book called Quantum Reality by a PhD in quantum mechanics, and she says when the me falls away, well, then we realize that we are really more of a we. And then when the we falls away, well, we realize that we're really the all. It's all the one life. And so we move from me into we, and we arrive at all, even the little bugs. I know Susie's having a war with the ants in her house, but you know, I noticed all the butterflies are back on my flowers, and there was the longest time when I didn't have butterflies because the exterminators would come and they'd spray my whole yard. I didn't have bumblebees, I didn't have the spiders that would build the big webs that I used to have in my yard. I don't have any of those big webs anymore, and I didn't have the butterflies. So when the exterminator came out, I said, would you please treat the, whatever for the, what's that stuff that gets in the house? Termites. But stop spraying. And so now I've got the butterflies back, I've got the bees back. And you know, they're my friends, Miss Susie, and I know there's some anthills. Well, I really don't have any anthills, and I wonder why that is. But then again, it's a garden. And so I was sharing with the revealing service, we have these big cockroach bugs every now and then. There's not a lot of them, but you'll get 1 or 2 in the house. And there was one walking down the stairs just the other day. And my beloved husband saw the big bug on the stairs and said, David, there's a big bug on the stair. And I says, well, you know, are you going to step on it? He said, oh, I wouldn't kill the bug. So he's running around with a little cup, and he catches the big bug in his cup, and he carries it out, and he throws it into the garden. Now that's just a moment of inner beingness. And then my beloved Thich Nhat Hanh, the one that coined this phrase, I have arrived at home, he's written so many beautiful books, and they're all about learning to wake up in this world. And he says, we inner are. There's only one life here. You heard Jody in that beautiful treatment. There's only one life. That life is God's life. And that life is perfect. And that life is our life now. So when we can say we enter are in the one life, and it is waking up in us, well, then the second Sunday I talked about chaos leading to a new higher order of being. Sometimes things have to fall apart in our lives. Anybody have any stuff fall apart? A few of you? And it's supposed to fall apart so that something new can reconfigure. And so then we say, it's not really, you had a bad life. Yes, you're moving from the trombone to the trumpet now. Isn't that wonderful? And that's what life's all about. So then, what did I talk about? There were 5 talks this Sunday. Okay, a whole new world. It's time to wake up. Chaos leads to a higher order. Who is the experiencer? Are you the one that has all the problems, or are you the one that goes into the solution consciousness? I shared with Susie in the class this morning, all suffering is simply a resistance to what is. So if I'm living in my life in resistance, and there's a man in the White House that I have resistance, but if I really let it build in me, I'll suffer. But I can just kind of laugh at it and turn it off, because the experiencer is the one that's not going to identify with the problems on the outside. Last week I spoke about awakened doing. Could our doing arrive from that awakened place within our consciousness? So when when Ed was here last Sunday and he was going to go through this challenge, my awakened doing was to affirm his wholeness, knowing that we're all going through a certain challenge, physically, mentally, emotionally. Last Thursday, when Trey came home from the vacation up in Maine, he made us this big dinner, and I hadn't had a full meal in a week and a half, 2 weeks and a half, except when we went out for lunch. And he put this meal on the plate, and I went to eat it, and my whole bridge fell down in my mouth. Oh, and I could resist it, but then again, I thought, well, I'll just push it back up, and it kept falling down. So then I thought, okay, well, I don't have this bridge up here on the left side of my mouth. And last night, when I went to bed, it fell down again, and I said, you know what, you're going to sit over here on the side of the table, and I'll deal with you when the dentist gets back on Tuesday or Wednesday when he gets back from his vacation. But in the meantime, I'm going to be at peace with what is, because I'm not going to be in resistance. And that leads to this Sunday, and I don't like the way the universe always says to give me a 2x4. I'm talking about the deepest acceptance, to accept the things I cannot change, to have the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And so isn't life so amazing how it gives us these gifts all the time? And that's the beauty of life. I pulled out my Jeff Foster, because he's one of the great heroes in my life. When I had the heart attack, he was the one that was there. And he went through so much stuff in his life. I mean, he was suicidal, he was a mess. But he said, instead of chasing after the dream of the perfect life, could I meet the life that I have and find the deepest acceptance in that? When someone asked me, is there one book you would recommend? I said, of all my hundreds of books, this would be the one I'd recommend, The Deepest Acceptance. You've read it, haven't you, Thomas? So let me just give you a taste of Jeff, because he speaks to my soul. This is his book, The Deepest Acceptance. And he says, let's start off with suffering, because so much of the world is suffering, and we want to get rid of our suffering, because we're not comfortable in the suffering. He says, instead of getting rid of the suffering, what if you inquire into the suffering? Well, there's a different way of looking at it. We don't have to escape the suffering. And there's so many escape routes. He says this, all human suffering is simply a dualistic split in our present experience. In other words, we think there are two. There's a good experience and a bad experience in the separation of the me from life itself. So if we can find out where the violence, the suffering, the separation from life and each other, well, then we can begin in our own experience. We can start to meet the experience, not call it a bad experience. If we can clearly see and understand that suffering we create for ourselves, then we will also be able to see how we create suffering for others, for the ones that we love, for our cities, for our countries, for our continents, and for our planet. Ooh, he's getting big there, Adam. Violence begins and ends with you. Ooh, it's a little slap in the face. Wake up. Recognizing this truth leads to total responsibility, the ability to respond in the best sense of the word. He says, I'm not offering a way out of the madness for the human mind. Rather, I'm offering a way in. So could we go within and go look what's going on? I'm not actually offering a solution to suffering, but another way of looking at suffering, a radical new way of relating to it. We have no hope of ending suffering, personal or global, until we can understand what suffering really is at the most fundamental level. And when we truly understand suffering, we may discover that true freedom is found not through escaping our present experience, but by diving fearlessly into its hidden depths. And in there, perhaps, we will discover all the peace, love, and the deepest acceptance that we were always seeking out there. We don't need to find it out there, we need to find it in here, but we find it by meeting what's arising. And sometimes it's that uncomfortable stuff. Well, that's where he starts the whole book. Could we start by saying, okay, I'm not here to medicate and to get rid of, deny, or to take some class and how can I purge myself? No. If it's coming up to be met. And then skipping to the middle of the book, he goes on to elucidate. He said, Nisargadatta says, wisdom says that I'm nothing, and love says that I am everything. Isn't that juicy? Wisdom says that I am no thing, but love says that I am everything. And between these two, our life will flow. That's our inner beingness. We're connected. And what you are is the vast open space in which everything happens. There's that flow place again, Michael, that academic was talking about. When Moses, the bush was on fire, and it was God, and he said, who shall I say you are? He says, say the I am sent you. So the I am, and that's what that man said in his little video. The I am is what we are. I am. So what you are is this vast open space in which everything happens, and the recognition of that brings clarity and wisdom. But clarity and wisdom are not complete without their reflection, which is love. Ooh, there's that love word again. And love comes from the recognition that as open space, as the ocean, what you are unconditionally and deeply accepts all the waves that appear on the ocean, all the sights and the sounds and the smells and the sensations that are appearing now, because everything is the beloved. And this recognition is wisdom, and it's incomplete without the recognition of love. All there is love, wherever you look around. And then, I think there's a song in there, love is in the air everywhere you look around. Love is in the air with every sight and every sound. So, the true end of suffering comes from the recognition of this total intimacy with life itself, with all of life, even the little bugs, Susie Q. With life itself. In this deepest acceptance, then mind and heart become one. Nothing becomes everything. They were never two separate things to begin with. And then mental clarity and certainty give way to a deepest acceptance of this present moment, and in that, the war ends. When Ed accepted what he has as a little thing on his head that was going to be removed, and they took it off, and everything was a good bill of health, the deepest acceptance, accept the health, it's the law of your life. Perfect health is the law of my life. Say that with me. Perfect health is the law of my life. Now feel that move into your cells. Perfect health is the law of my life. And then let that become, that's sowing the seed, receiving the manifestation, and smiling over there. He demonstrated it in his, so at the very end of the book, to fearlessly face your present experience and to find the deepest acceptance in there and nowhere else. That's saying yes to what is, 1,000 times yes. He goes on to elucidate, in recognizing yourself as this wide open space in which all the waves appear and disappear, as this intimate vastness in which all thoughts, sensations, and feelings come and go, it becomes a lot clearer what awakening is really all about. We meet life on life's terms. And when the stuff that's uncomfortable arises, we meet that too. We don't run away from it. He says, in recognizing yourself as this vast and intimate, open, spacious awareness, it's no longer a question of something called me becoming more awakened over time or reaching a total integration within the future. For it is seen that, from the perspective of who I really am, every wave that appears right now is already integrated within the ocean, and every wave is already intimate with what I am. And so it's not a question of me moving toward an endpoint of a total integration in the future. That is the dream of a seeker who always lives in the story of time and spiritual achievement. It's always, always, always a question of simply recognizing the integration of your present experience here and now. It's not about chasing after someday when I'll be this or that. No, right now, the presence is fully flowing with every moment that we have. Ooh, it's kind of juicy, isn't it? You just kind of hang out in that moment. Lastly, he says, here and now is where life is, and there is only here and now. So life heals itself through you in the moment. He takes us into that present moment. I went to Jeff's latest book. His latest book is called Falling in Love with Where You Are, and he did a little poem in here, which I think is really beautiful, how we can do that, because he's really a poet. And here's his poem on what's in the way is the way. And it's the promise. Here's his poem. He says, in this presence beyond presence, in this place that is no place at all, in this warm embrace that I call myself, even a no becomes a secret yes. Even resistance is deeply allowed. Even doubt becomes a celebration of life. So come, all you unloved creatures, he says, all you homeless waves in life's vast ocean. Pain, doubt, shame, guilt, all you frightened orphans of the light. Crawl out of your hiding places. Shuffle out of the darkness. You are invited to a great feast. Come, uncertainty, and sit by my side. Come, despair, and drink from my cup. Come, fear, and do not be afraid of me. I will not turn away from you. I will not deny you a place at my table. Now that I know the truth of myself, you are all welcome. I invited you here a long time ago. I have an ancient promise to keep. So drink from the waterfall of light and love, because we are one. So we invite all of ourselves to come home in this beautiful dance of the deepest acceptance. Bob has a beautiful song that has a little story with it, and we'll play this. And oh, by the way, next Sunday is our Breaking Bread Sunday. So if you come, bring a dish, and we'll share it after the service. There's going to be a new class starting on Tuesday called Sacred Contracts, Alana, and it's show up Tuesday night at 6 o'clock if you want, at 6 o'clock.
Oh, it's full. It's only.
Oh, it's full?
Capacity.
Oh, okay, it's already capacity. Oh.
But she's doing others, so if anybody's interested, there's a flyer.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, Bob, you want to share this song?
Sure. Kelly says hi. I put the mic here. I don't usually talk much. I usually just play the music. Kelly says hi. She's out of town with the kids, and so that leaves me at home. I've been working with this song about a year, and I decided to work it up and bring it in here, and she didn't have to listen to me play it because she's been out of town, 200 times, and it's a song of joy and happiness. And usually I just play the song, but I thought this time the backstory behind the song would add a lot to the understanding of this. And so it's in 1950, a composer, Russian composer named Khachaturian, wrote a ballet. The ballet is named Spartacus, and in the ballet, Spartacus and his beloved are captured by the Romans, and they're separated and imprisoned, and Spartacus is very unhappy because he's lost his love and he's despaired, and then there's a revolt and everybody escapes. And so Spartacus is out, and his beloved's name is Phrygius. Spartacus is out in the woods, and he sees, or he thinks he sees, his beloved, who's kind of there all the time. And then the joy and the happiness that he feels being reunited with his beloved is this song.
It's a pas de deux, it's a ballet. So think of them now, the lovers dancing as he plays this beautiful piece of
So
music.
it's Adagio from Spartacus.
The lovers have been reunited. You can feel that. That's so beautiful, Bob. Jody, do you want to ring the bell? No. So we are united with love. In this ongoing dance called life. And now we can dance with all of life. If our fear shows up at the door, we can dance with fear. In that beautiful pas de deux that Bob just played, I could see myself dancing with what is. And greeting it with so much gratitude. I'm no longer running away from life. Whether it's the fear or the pain or the struggle, they're all welcome in my heart. And so that changes life. Life is no longer a challenge, but it becomes a glorious opportunity to drink from the water of life, to embrace what is, to find the good, the God, the gift in everything by simply accepting what is, the deepest acceptance of life on life's terms. We listen to the silence that's always there. It's so patient. It's not trying to figure out another situation, but it rests in awareness. It just rests. They say patience is the last step to enlightenment. And so when you feel your impatience, know that you've got some more work to do. But if we can be patient and find that still small voice that doesn't get louder, but gets clearer when we become still, well, then we have arrived in the one that knows no other, in the nothing and the everything, calling it home. So take a deep integrating breath. Give a sigh for the divine. Ah. Jody, you want to do a little collection and maybe play something a little honky-tonk? Jody has a collection plate if anybody has a tithe that they want to leave.
We need more. We just got started, Bob. Another chorus.